If you updated your game today, then you got the new Viv buff to come with it, and I'm going to show you a couple fights of how this buff has improved her, and this first fight's going to be pre-buff Viv, so you can get a good example of what she looked like then, and then the next fight, which is also an abs man, will be what she looks like now, and I'll show you how specifically she improved in some of these areas. So the first little snippet that they did to buff Viv is increase her SP2 burst damage multiplier. The way her old SP2 would work is that for each block tap, it would do damage and then multiplied by 22% for each time you did it consistently. And in other words, that means the first hit did a certain amount of damage, then the next hit would do 22% more of that, then the next hit would do 22% more of that, the next hit would do 22% more of that, and that would be each time you successfully got the block tap. Well, now, instead of 22%, it's 50%, so in the next fight you're going to see, if I throw the SP2 and it does 800 damage, well, that's going to be added 50% of that, and then the next hit's going to do 50% more of that, and it's just going to keep building, but this time a lot faster than the last time. So that 22% into 50% change is really good at what Viv's biggest problem was, and her biggest problem was not being able to finish fights after you did your SP2 into SP1 cycle, because that's really her only viable rotation cycle. You can do SP3 for longer fights, and I've used it in war a couple times, but I don't think it's really useful outside of some niche war fights. You're never going to use Viv for long fights anyway, so I don't see that being a good rotation outside of a niche war use. And again, here is going to be the SP2 with the new buff. Now, for some reason, I'm really inconsistent at getting that first hit recently. I don't know if it got changed or what, but I can't nail that first hit. So if I could, it would be even more damage. And you can clearly see that was so much more SP2 burst than the last fight. And I'm going to show those two SP2s back to back again. So this pre-buff Viv is going to do around 7,000 damage from burst on the SP2. And now this post-buff Viv, without the damage from the first hit, because I for some reason cannot nail that one, does 20,000 burst from the SP2. Meaning that it went from 7,000 to 20,000, and could be even higher, probably at or above 30,000 damage if I could nail that first hit. That's really significant in helping her finish fights a lot faster. And so the pre-buff Viv took down that rank 4 abs man in 65 seconds, and post-buff Viv did 59 seconds. However, it's the same rotation, and I ended it a lot faster than, I ended it a bit longer than I could have, because the AI was really stingy with his special ones a little bit in that fight. Well, not really stingy, but stingy-er for sure, and I think it's close to a 15-second change if I have the exact same AI each fight. So I do think it is a really significant change, allowing her to finish fights in one cycle. That's the biggest thing. With pre-buff, she could not finish the fights in one cycle, and now post-buff she can because of that SP2 increase. And so here is the second point I want to bring up with her buff, and that is going to be how she works against Purify now. So against Kingpin here, when she was pre-buff, she would be really bad for it because her energy vulnerabilities would just get purified. But now with the buff, they have changed those energy vulnerabilities into passives, meaning that Kingpin cannot shrug them off. So now that you can actually stack those energy vulnerabilities, it's way more worth using Viv against Kingpin because your SP1 is going to hit so much harder, and you're actually going to be able to finish the fight in one cycle, unlike before, where your Kingpin would probably still be at 30% if those energy vulnerabilities kept getting purified, which they would be. So, third point I want to bring up is that she now has 125% base ability accuracy in her entire kit. Before the buff, this was only phasing, meaning that Domino could still crit fail Viv's abilities, except for the phasing usually. But now it is almost guaranteed that Domino will never crit fail Viv because of her ability accuracy being always 125%. And of course, Domino can lower that, but it's almost never enough ability accuracy reduction to where you're going to get crit failed. And this first attempt against Domino here, I never got crit failed once, and I'm pretty sure that's pretty consistent. You're never going to get crit failed. Maybe the occasional crit fail if Domino gets really lucky with her ability accuracy reductions, but I don't think it's going to happen very often. So that was like a 44-second Domino takedown. Absolutely clean fight. It was perfect. So I'm just going to show this Doom at the end here. There's nothing really specific about her utility that I'm going to bring up in this Doom fight, or utility that changed. There's very good utility that Viv has here, being that she can't be nullified when she has an armor up, so the aura isn't going to be able to remove her armor ups, which is really cool. But one last thing that I'm going to talk about her buff that I think is really nice is that they changed the SP2 block taps from giving 3 solar energies per block tap to 4 of them. And that definitely helps, because if you struggle being able to get those SP2 block taps, and trust me, they are hard to do sometimes, well, now you don't feel as bad for missing some of them, because you're getting extra solar energy per block tap. So I think that Viv was really almost perfectly changed. I think that the buff is really solid, and I loved Viv before. I love her even more now. I think they did a very, very good job with her rebalancing, and I'm just really excited that they did it. And so, if you like the Viv change, tell me all about it in the comments. Thanks for watching.